so it's exciting to be here today in this capacity to have a conversation with Mimi. Welcome, Mimi.
Thank you so much for having me. Let me say this. Can I say something first?
Sure.
I'm excited. I was sitting down over there trying to contain myself. We're talking about ownership. We're talking about eliminating debt. We're talking about liberation. This excites me. So it's going to be a shift in the atmosphere because I'm excited because these are tools that we don't get. We don't get access to. So I celebrate Dr. Soaries with a name like Soaries. I mean, it's no wonder why he's soaring. But this excites me, and I pray that it's exciting you as well, because this is game changer information, this game changer curriculum, and this is about this is gospel. This is the gospel.
Amen.
This is good news. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is great.
So you can tell already she has a lot of energy and love, right?
No coffee.
So, I had the privilege of having a conversation with Mimi earlier this week, and what her resume or LinkedIn account doesn't share is just her love for God and her passion to help other people. And it's that passion that really has been the undercurrent to help her make some really critical and strategic business decisions. And so, Mimi, can you talk about how you made the shift of being a songwriter, because you set out your career to write songs, right? And then you made the transition to being a business owner. And so what was that like? How did you make that decision, and why?
Yes, that's a great question. For me, it's always been about understanding what's my God-given gift. I really believe the scripture when it says your gifts make room for you. So I'm like, let me identify my gifts so they can make room for me. And so the gift of writing and songwriting, that was my gift. And just to lay a background, after I graduated from college, I got married and had 10 years in the insurance and financial service industry. Away from my gift, using some different gifts, was away from my God-given gift. And I knew if anybody does music in this room or anything that God has put on you, you never can escape it. Like, it's like an itch. You like, I gotta scratch this itch one more time. And so in 2016, we made a decision. I made a decision to walk away from the insurance and financial service industry that I was successful at and do music. This makes no sense for an adult person. Music is volatile, the industry is, and so it was a new experience for me, but I felt compelled and I felt convicted to give myself a chance in this space. And so I went down that journey, and I started really basic. I had a notebook full of lyrics. I don't play any instrument. I don't do a lot, but I had this one gift of writing. And so I set out on that journey, and I had to relearn the business because my degree is in recording industry management. But when you sit out of an industry for 10 years, a lot changes. So my journey was long. I had to learn, how do I make money in this industry? Because if I'm leaving income, I got to find a way to replace that income. It was a lot. It was hard. My family made a sacrifice with me. We downsized from about a 3,500 square foot home to a little 1,400 square foot apartment so that we could save money for me to start and embark upon this new endeavor. And so it was a learning experience. It was a walk of faith. It still is a walk of faith. And what I learned with songwriting is that the money is slow. That's what made the shift to become a business owner. But as I journeyed through being a songwriter, I was serving other songwriters, and the Lord began to show me the need. There's a hole in the marketplace with Black female executives and Black female owners in the music publishing space. And so that's where that's kind of was my journey. That's how I made the shift. The shift was because if you're not making money at something, don't be afraid to shift gears. I'm still in the industry, but there was definitely a redirect that took place because it took too long to get money as a songwriter. And there's still legislation going on today on how to best compensate songwriters for all the contribution that they make to our mainstream popular world.
So that was awesome. I don't know if you heard everything in that response, but it was jam-packed with so many nuggets. First, just admiring your courage, right? So you knew that you were gifted in the area and you wanted to honor your gifts. So being in tune with your spiritual gifts, your experience and your natural gift from God and wanting to honor that. So making the decision is what I heard to go after that. And then second of all, you were very clear about what you wanted to get out of your career. So although you had the passion to write songs, you realized it wasn't going to get you the financial security that you wanted. So you said the money is slow. And so I remember Reverend Stories telling me when growing up, be very clear about what your professional goals are. And if you're not going to meet them, then it's time to make a change. And so for some, your your professional goals could be you want to grow in a certain area in terms of experience and you want to attain skills. Or your professional goals could be about the money. And so if you're not going to attain the money that you want going down a certain path, you have to adjust and develop a new strategy. And so that's what I heard there. And then the final point is I heard commitment. And this is something that you had said in our previous conversation, that most of us suffer from misplaced commitment. We hold on to things that are not giving us the return that we desire. And so if you just stayed stuck and committed in songwriting, I'm just going to write songs. And then, even if I don't make money and just be poor the rest of my life, I'm just going to hold on to writing songs. And why? Why not make money and then still write the songs?
Right.
And I think a lot of us, and I can think of some areas for myself, it's not just money. It could be relationships, people. You hold on that commitment to that thing or that person or that situation, even though you're going downhill and you're not getting the return that you want. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and that was after giving it a go. It wasn't a half step. I committed every day for 2 or 3 years to that gift. Mm-hmm. And it did a lot for me. It opened up a lot of doors. I got opportunities and I made some money. I didn't make the money that I wanted to make. Mm-hmm. And not that it's always about the money, but sustainability is important to me. And so I can't continue in this. After 3 years, I was like, okay, there's a shift, a natural shift that took place, and say, okay, now that I understand the needs of songwriters, a natural progression for me was on the publishing side. Publishers are responsible for monetizing music. And so because I had the struggle of a songwriter, it gave me the burden of their needs. And so that's what fuels me today. I get out the bed ready to make songwriters money. This is a Rubik's Cube. I done flipped this thing 1,000 ways, and I will not stop until the writers that I believe in and who are putting the work in are, fairly compensated for their contributions to the world.
And so I think what's cool about that is you are driven by your passion to help them succeed, but you also saw a need because you were on that side and you saw a gap. So I think that can help us transition to your next business. So she's the co-owner, as mentioned. Nashville is not just country music. I love the name of your business because it's very clear what it's about. And this Jerseyan used to think that that's the only thing that comes out of Nashville is country music. And so realizing that there is this other music scene, this diverse music scene in Nashville that hasn't been tapped into. You're filling that gap in providing these new artists with opportunities and resources. So you can talk about that more?
Yeah, so Nashville is not just country music. It was started by a good friend of mine. Her name's Delia Ewing, and she's a Nashville native. I stuck around. My husband and I moved back to Nashville in 2007, and with me reacclimating myself to that environment as I went back into music full time, I met the Leah, and she began to share, like y'all think I have energy? This woman had energy, and she has such a passion for her hometown and what's been going there on the music scene. And so the other gift that I do have is the gift of helps. And so as she was sharing her heart with me, there was alignment, there was synergy. And so I said, this is something that I want to help. I want to help, and it's aligned with what I'm doing, so I'm not doing 500 different things. There is alignment, and so, we began to do things like, Nashville is known for country music, and we thank God for that because it's a big part of the economy there. It's also known for gospel music. You got the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and you got so much great gospel music that comes out of Nashville, but there is an underserved market, Black folks who actually do country, and then Black folks who actually do R&B, pop, hip hop. And so we realized that there was a hole in the marketplace. These creatives did not have the same access and support as counterparts. And so we decided to do something about it. So we started providing just exposure, giving them a platform. Some of them had never had a chance to perform at some of the prestigious venues in Nashville, like Acme, performing right on Broadway, giving them educational, because that's the thing with the music business, with any business that you're a part of, you have to know how the business works. Mm-hmm. And the biggest challenge that I see in the music industry, especially with us, we don't know. And so we get taken advantage of because we don't know. And so when we look at ownership, and I'm gonna tell you how all of these things kind of go together. When you look at ownership, if you create a thing by law, you are the owner of it. When you are an owner, you have rights. If you don't know what those rights are, you are probably going to be taken advantage of. Now, if I have rights, I have the right to transfer or assign that which I own to someone else. That's my right to do, not yours. That's my right. And so, but also with the rights come risk. And so as owners, we have, and that's what music creators are, that creators, they're owners of their work until they assign it or transfer it to someone else. And so just that basic understanding of I created something, I own it. And if everybody say that, I own it. I own it.
I own it.
That word ownership means something, like to me, it meant everything.
Yeah.
I own this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to care for it. I'm going to tend to it because it's mine. Mm-hmm. And then so not to go too far down that, but okay. So serving the creatives and sharing that information and just empowering creatives in that way in Nashville has been a blessing for us. The pandemic shook us up a little bit because we're a communal brand. And so we are in prayer and redirecting our support. Say, how can we now that we've done that, very much a trendsetter in that area for the creatives, and there's more people in that space now, what is next for us as we continue to serve creatives? So we're brainstorming and kicking the can with the Lord and seeing what he has next for us.
I am a little curious about the whole partnership with you and your co-owner for the business. And so, you started Collab Music Network independently, and that is yours independently. Yeah. And so what did you look for in a partner? What are some things that you consider? Because you're a co-owner with this and then co-owner with
We Own Now.
We Own Now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just present. When I believe in people, I love people, I care about people. And so when I am with people, I am present in that space. And if someone shares something that tugs at my heart, I respond. And I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't. I've learned from being active. I grew up, this is not what I was formally trained to do, like start businesses and grow and scale businesses. That's not what I'm good at. That's what I'm becoming good at. And so it's this idea that God equips us. God equips us, especially for the things that we're doing that he told us to do. And so I don't know.
So I appreciate that because you're talking about taking that leap of faith. So you didn't come from a background where your mother, your grandmother, they were business owners, and you acknowledge that you don't know everything about business, but you at least wanted to take the first step and then continue to grow and learn and acquire the skills necessary to lead a business.
Absolutely. I'm in cohorts. I've had to humble myself because you might be good at one thing, but when you start a new thing that you're not good at, you can't take the confidence of the old thing into the new thing. So I've had to humble myself. I'm in cohorts. Nashville is phenomenal with, a lot of entrepreneurism cohorts and support and training. So I went through a program called through the Arts and Business Council called Periscope. I ended up winning that pitch competition, and that gave me some funding.
Congratulations.
But it was humbling because I realized I didn't know what I was doing. I was bootstrapping it. I was convicted. I was passionate, and I was spending a lot of my energy, but I wasn't growing and scaling, And so it's like, hey, I don't want to hustle this hard for $65,000, $70,000. If I'm gonna hustle this hard, I want $1 million or $2 or so. Humbling myself to go and get the training that I need. I had to acknowledge, like, Jamila, you don't know what you're doing. Go get help because there's help for you. So after that program, what I realized is that I didn't know what I was doing. Through the whole program, that was the message. Like, okay, I really have not been doing this correctly. The second program that I got into, because that was, to me, that was a deprogramming. When I went through that curriculum, it was a deprogramming. I had to realize that I had been doing it wrong. I joined the Entrepreneur Center. They have a program called Twin Day, which means let's go. And this is for founders of color. So during that program, which I am still in, I began to put the blocks back together the right way. And so laying foundation for business so that it can grow and scale. I'm not interested in $70,000. I'm not knocking $70,000, but that's not what I'm working so hard for. And so if we're talking about generational wealth, if we're talking about, being able to change the trajectory of my family, 70K ain't gonna get it.
Well, I appreciate that because what I heard for anyone that's teetering on the line or has the aspirations for starting a business and have been a little timid about it, just go for it. Just try, take the first step. And what I heard you say is that there are resources out there for you to learn and to figure out the things that you don't know and come up with better strategies to help you do it better.
There's help, like even this program like D-Free, this is why I'm so excited about it. There is help and support for anything that we want to learn, for anything that we want to be great at. And the first thing we have to do is acknowledge, one, and admit where we are. Like, I have to acknowledge what I want. It was liberating for me to say, I don't want $70,000. I want millions. Now, that's not from a selfish ambition. That's not my heart, and God knows that. But I had to acknowledge that I don't want that. I want to be an advocate of change for my family. I want to be an example for young people, and I want to be able to be the representation that says, hey, listen, I'm from Dayton, Ohio. This is not supposed to be so. I'm from the hood. I'm from a place where, this was not a part of my story. And so I had to acknowledge what I want. Two, I had to believe it.
Yeah.
And I had to acknowledge what I didn't know. I don't know how to do that. So I have to learn how to do that. Believe my convictions are real. I live my life based on my convictions. And then C, I had to commit. When you make a decision, it eliminates so much. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all their ways. When you don't make a decision, you are double-minded. And so we spend a lot of energy because we're in between. We don't know where to settle in. So make the decision, and then the path becomes a little clearer.
Stepping on my toes a little bit, too.
So I'm stepping on mine, too.
Because it's every area, right? So, make the decision. Thank you for that.
Yeah, commit to something. Like, even with this walk with Christ, commit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People say, it's hard. No, not really. If we commit to a thing, it becomes easier. But what's challenging is living in two spaces. What's challenging is going back and forth between what you want and what you don't want, and so we become good at what we don't want, but what do you want?
Yeah.
Because the Bible speaks to me about what I can have. Like, God is clear. He doesn't say, well, I think I want to make you all a chosen people, and I think you're a royal priesthood. Like, he is very clear about his desires for us. I believe that.
Yeah.
I commit to that belief. And so things get easier.
And so people have to take the time to think about what they want and then keep it in front of them all the time,
Absolutely.
So let's just shift, because I think you're touching on some things about your other business that you co-own, We Own Now. And you start to touch upon just some of the principles about that and about what ownership is, and what that means, and a more holistic view of ownership.
Yeah.
So do you just first want to just give us a little overview about the company, and then we'll show a little clip that will give us more, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, again, being present with people. Everything for me starts with people. I was sitting down with a dear friend of mine. We went to college together, Derek Minor. He's a hip-hop artist. And really randomly, and obviously nothing is random with God, but I thought it was random.
Yeah.
And I called him up. I was like, hey, let's catch up. During the pandemic, everybody was in that space like, man, let me reach out to people. we were connecting with people in a way that we hadn't before. And so I reached out to him. He's like, yeah, pull up. So I came over to his house. We sat in his studio, and we were just catching up. And he began to share his heart with me about this idea of ownership is the new black. And I was immediately intrigued. But what connected me to it was the heart behind it. This is a young black man who is, on his own financial journey, on his own journey for, financial freedom. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, man, there's so much that we don't know. And he's been learning. And he's like, I want to share this that I'm learning with others. And, when we talk about ownership, so many narratives have been given to us by people who are not us. I don't understand. Like, that's like me going into an Asian community and saying, I have a narrative for you. No, you don't. Mm-hmm. I can't give Asian people a narrative because I'm not Asian. So in our culture, we've allowed, and so many others have, given us a narrative, whether it's slave or employee or, borrower, whatever the narrative is. And he said, no, ownership is the narrative. And then when we look back in history, because that was the other part of the journey, when we look at our history that we have been disconnected from because it was stripped away from us, we see ownership. We see innovators. We see creators. Whether they were able to get the fruit of that, but we are owners. We're innovators, we're creators. And so being connected to that history, that truth of our true history, it just did something in my spirit. I was like, wow, yes, this is our narrative. We've been told something else, and lies have to go back where they came from.
Yeah, it's a mind shift change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so he shared his heart, I responded, and we got busy. We literally just me and him got busy. And we started with digestible, bite-sized history moments about our people, about our history. And so we just did, 2 years later, we did our official launch in D.C., and this clip is kind of what happened there.
The issue here is systemic, but at the same time, we just have a narrative around us that has to change, and it has to start from within.
2 years of very invigorating Zoom calls. Everyone knows I love Zoom calls. Like, I'm astounded that we actually were able to pull this off. You know what I'm saying? This started with just an idea.
Whenever someone wants to push something, they say, it's the new black. This is the new black. That is the new black. Well, I said, well, why can't ownership be the new black? And that's what started it.
The next thing you know, I'm flying in, multiple artists, and we meeting with Capitol Hill and White House staff, and going to all these different things, having this event.
I know Derek's heart and what he sees and what his vision is for ownership is the new black, and I believe in it. I've spent time with him, and I believe in what he's doing.
I hope that, like, you know, we can, like, get great ideas, feel, you know, connected, that you're not alone.
I came here because I think it's just amazing what they're doing. I feel like ownership is the new black. It's just something I embody just with my everyday life. I'm just passionate about education. I'm passionate about ownership, and I'm passionate about being able to pay it forward for other black people in the community. Being that we're here to talk about the wealth gap and to talk about serving our communities the best, part of the things that we also need is ownership. Ownership of our things.
Man, I got a chance to go to Capitol Hill, got a chance to go to the White House, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and like, yo, we're talking to people at the White House.
People just can't do that.
That's a rare thing.
Or maybe they can do that, but
they don't know they can do it.
So this is my grandmother, so she always wanted to go to the White House, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to take her with me today, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm Rick Waite, Senior Vice President here at the United States Chamber of Commerce, and say welcome. This is the world's headquarters of the world's largest business organization. I think you're onto something that's extremely powerful, and for such a time as this in our country and quite frankly in our world, that we got to draw nearer and closer to our faith.
When I came here, it just felt like family. Like, even though I didn't know everybody who was here, it felt like family. And you know, we talked about just different expectations we had for going to the White House and the Capitol, and it dawned on me like how serious it was.
But I know the things that your people went through, and for you now to talk about ownership is the new black. My mother and father had 9 children, and my father worked 3 jobs, no ownership of nothing. Don't take it for granted, and don't let it down. You're doing it for your ancestors, and not only that, you're doing it for your children.
And DJ Blackberry, can y'all please can you bring the hood back to DC real quick? I love y'all.
I just wanna see you win. We can't take no L's this year, nah, it's not in the plan. You don't understand, I just wanna see you win. If they ain't with the squad, then just leave them in the stands.
Let me tell you why I'm excited. As I look in the room and I see people from various backgrounds, educational, socioeconomics, racial, we're all in here together as one people to learn and discuss and be informed about one issue, the racial wealth gap.
I grew up around people trying to figure it out. That's what I grew up around. And to varying degrees, they process their traumas in very different ways. But I'm getting to stand here on their shoulders from the sacrifices that they made.
We're here to talk about creating opportunities for not only individuals who are in my age group, but young people, teaching them right now to own. It's important to own.
Is really powerful because it's not simply talking about owning a business, right?
Right.
It's talking about owning our culture, owning our identity, owning the way that we think about ourselves and how we present and show up in the world. And again, it's going back to that mind shift that needs to happen so that we can start to think about the businesses and the initiatives and all those other things. So it's really encouraging to see. Yeah.
Ownership is a new black. Again, it's something about that word ownership. You know, it's to take possession of something. God refers to us as his prized possession. He's taking ownership of us, and that which you take ownership of, you tend to,
Yeah.
That's why I'm not worried about anything, because God has taken ownership of me. I'm good. I just got to show up and take the path, but I'm not worried about anything. As long as God is my owner, we're good. and so in DC, what we were able to do is bring together, policymakers, community leaders, entertainers, who are our youth. They're the trusted advisors of this generation. So it's not the financial advisors that actually have the right information it's the entertainers. So we said, it is what it is. Let's utilize what works, who they listen to, but let's empower those people with information and resources. And I agree with Dr. Soares. How do we close the racial wealth gap? We have to create economic success stories. It's not an information thing, it's an activation thing. We have to actively help people to eliminate those debts and to build wealth. And so it's not just a conference, it is in your own lives. How are we, applying what we're learning, to take ownership of your finances? The fact that we're all sitting here today at this D-Free conference, I know we're all taking ownership of our finances. I own that. Then let me say this, with ownership, when you really understand it, that actually God created everything. So technically, we're not owners of anything, but that sounds contradictory, but it doesn't, because what God is asking us to do is steward that which He created. And that we have, and so stewardship and ownership are synonymous, because the steward actually tends to the thing as if it was the owner. So there is an accountability, and this, that's where we get that joint heirs, There's an accountability that happens when you steward that which God has given us. So,
and that extends to every area, right? So that we can be good stewards of our money and time and resources.
Energy.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really powerful. And so what does that look like? So you said that basically you're leveraging the culture. So if the entertainers have the earpiece of our younger people, they have the influence. What is it that you want for others to do to join into this movement?
Yeah, go to our website and just get connected. Put an email, because here's the thing. It's all hands on deck. There is no competition when it comes to closing the racial wealth gap. We need everybody. We need D-Free, and we're standing on the shoulders of Dr. Soares, and I'm blown away by the vision and what he's put into place for us. I think the lady on the last panel, she said, sometimes we don't realize what we have. This is amazing. And we're going to do our part with help pushing to let people know that this curriculum is available. Matter of fact, I'm going to go through it with my family. We got grandmas, and we got, like you said, people still struggling.
Yeah.
And so this gives us a vehicle to help share information. My husband and I, insurance and financial services. So just to help you guys understand, I'm not this, I'm not that. We made a lot of mistakes. Educated, ambitious, and we actually knew the information, and we still failed at finances. In 2008, when the economy tanked, we opened our agency in 2007. 2008, the economy tanked. 2010, we did not have any money. We were officially broke. And we made investments in the right thing, but life still happened to us. And so we were knocked off of our feet financially. Young, married, have one child at the time. And it was so embarrassing, because we know the information. I remember us, God is good, because there was humility that was produced out of that disaster. We didn't plan for that. We didn't make concessions for what happens externally. Even though business school would tell you do a SWOT analysis, we did not count the costs. We did not examine externally what could happen.
So what would you say to someone that they failed before, or they encounter some type of opposition that they did not plan for? Like, how did you get past that? What were the steps?
That's what I love about God. Get up. He's the get up God, you know. I love it. We're going to fail. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to fail. Like, I'm going to try. I'm going to get out here and I'm going to get active. I'm not going to sit on the pew and speculate. I'm going to activate myself in this game of life, and I'm going to trust God, and I am going to fail at something. That's just a reality that we have to embrace. And it's okay, because God is the get up God. He gets us up. We're a little bit stronger, or he helps us to fall gracefully. Now, our fall was not graceful. You know, we had to end up, and I'll tell this, and I'll talk with my husband. No, I have clearance to share this, but we had to end up filing bankruptcy. I mean, it was an embarrassing moment in our lives. Like, we are Christian people. We believe in excellence. And here we are met with this challenge. You know, and we're young. When this happened, I was 26. My husband was 27. And we felt so defeated. We felt like we were a disappointment because so many in our family were looking to us because we were kind of trailblazing. But God is great, because in that season, I met the God of the valley. I met the God of the valley, and I had met him before, but the financial valley is a different valley. It's a different kind of valley. And God, we were able to pay all our bills on time. And I'll get sentimental about this, because this is why I'm excited, because God is real to me. God met me when we had nothing. I had a child. I had to go and get on public. I was embarrassed in that moment, but God still provided. And we realized that we had to learn some more stuff. And we learned. And we're still learning. But that humility that is required for success, God taught us in the valley. And I don't know if we would have had it if we just would have went straight to our success story. I don't know if that fruit would have been fully mature. It was there. Some of it was false humility. It's a real thing. But in the financial valley is where we learned humility. And just the fact that we were able to pay out, I don't know how. I still don't know how. And I know finances. And there's just certain things when you put God in an equation, you just don't know. We don't know. If we were to have a conversation, if any of you were up here, there's some things that you just cannot explain. It's the God factor. Like, look. And so I don't try. But he helped us. Yeah. He helped us, and he held us. And he built us back up, because we were devastated. I mean, we're young, fresh out of college, start living the dream, starting the business, and pow! We got knocked on our feet. Not to any fault of our own, honestly. Life happened. But God's been happening.
And so what's important about that is that the story didn't end there.
No, right? God is the get up God.
Yeah.
Get up. Get on up.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because somebody needed to hear that today. Yeah. And that's what Reverend Stories had talked about earlier, the power of the testimony, right? And so for you to be vulnerable and share the real deal about running a business, there are some unexpected challenges that may seem like they may take you out, but that's not where the story ends. So we are so grateful and thankful for that.
Yeah. We have to give God praise for right there, because I know we all share a similar testimony. You can do it. That's the truth. I'm a living witness. Like, it don't end there. And honestly, I just turned 40 last year. I'm still young.
Yes.
My children don't think so, but I'm still young. I'm just getting started. With all that history, I'm just getting started. And I am thankful. I'm thankful at 40,
Yeah.
God said to me, nobody owes you anything, Jamila. Whoa, wait a minute. Where'd that come from, Lord? But in return, on the flip side, you don't owe anyone anything as well. So now when you connect, it is true gratitude. It's true gratefulness because I'm here because I want to be here. Everything that I'm a part of, I want to be in it. And if I don't want to, and I get the clearance, I'm out. That when we can live in that space, that is the space of freedom to me.
Yes.
I don't have, like somebody said, make your money work. I don't have to be at work when I have taken D-free, learned how to make my money work for me. I'm liberated and free to do the things that I care about. And so,
but the key to that is that you did the work, right?
do the work. Yeah, don't be ignorant. Do the work.
Yeah.
Get the education, get the training.
Go through the D-free classes. Yeah.
Go through the classes. But here's the thing, it's not even just education. Get active. Get active. Activate yourself. No one is going to, listen, God did what he gonna do. He sent his son. We've been reconciled. Like, the work has been done. The way has been made. We have to make a decision and do the thing that we feel convicted to do.
Yeah. Awesome. So, the theme is financial healing, wisdom, wellness, and wealth. And so you talked a little bit about what that looks like for you with financial freedom. But what about the whole part, the wisdom, the wealth? How does that speak to you with the theme and everything that you've gone through?
Again, I'm going to say it's the God factor. I live my life like this. I used to have a plan. I used to be rigid. I used to do all of that.
Yeah.
It's a daily bread thing for me. The reality is that we are 100% dependent on God. That is a reality that I've embraced. And so all of that wholeness, financial, spirit, that's all wrapped up in him.
Yeah.
And so I lean on him, and I've not mastered it, but I lean on him for everything. It is anti-society, independent, this, that, and the other. I am 100% dependent on God. In business, in my relationship, I've been married for 16 years. I am at 100% dependent on God. Now, God provides things like D-Free. God provides people and resources that we have access to. So that's where the wholeness comes from. It is resting in him and not from that, I ain't doing nothing till God speaks space. Not that one. But it's a posture of rest in him and let him lead us and guide us and help us navigate, whether it's spiritual, whether it's relational, whether it's financially. It is really depending on God for everything and that childlike faith,
So what does it practically look like when you're in family? So you mentioned your husband a couple times and your children. And so with the ups and downs of running a business and you have a partner to consider or your children to consider, what has that been like for you? Yeah.
Yeah, I've not mastered that one either. My uncle shared something with me before he passed away. He asked me this question. It's like my uncle's a riddler. He likes to give riddles and just make you go through all these hoops to get to the answer. And he said, what is the secret to success? He said, go read the book of Ecclesiastes and come back out after the weekend and tell me what you discovered. So I read the book, I come back, and I give all the answers that were jumping off the page. I'm like, it's this, it's that. And he's like, no. I'm like, just tell me the answer, please. Balance. Balance. Too much of anything is too much. Balance, and I still haven't mastered that. Every day balance looks different for my family. My husband is a business owner as well. He's a phenomenal man and a phenomenal business. I've learned a lot from my husband in business. Our children, they're 13 and 11. I've started a new business about 5 years ago, so there's just a commitment that is required there. But my husband set a really good precedent because when he started his business, he said, I will be home every day by 6 o'clock. I am not, because we had just had our daughter, he said, I am not going to miss my daughter's life. So he set a really good precedent in our family on how to balance it all. But it looks like something different every day. There's seasons where we going, and it seems like we all over the place. There's seasons like the pandemic where we get to sit in a space and connect. There's season of rest. And so I'm just trusting God to help me navigate. I've not mastered that yet, but I am actively aware that and acknowledge that I need help in that space.
And we all do.
We all do, the balance.
So you just mentioned one thing, that you just started another business. You want to talk about that one?
Well, the ownership is New Black. That's my latest. That's our
okay.
latest.
I thought you
Yeah,
was another
that's the
one.
no. I can't handle any more. God won't put more on us than we can bear, but sometimes we do. So yeah, but it's a blessing. Like here's the deal. The takeaway is this: God is real. He wants us to prosper. He wants our finances to prosper. He wants our relationships to prosper. And he is the God who can provide that. Like, this is real life, y'all. This is good. This is not a fable. This is not a fairy tale. The life that God created for us is a real and tangible life. Amen. Let's believe, let's agree with him. Let's acknowledge that. Let's speak it. Let's affirm that. And let's get busy. Like, this is fun. I am enjoying. I've had the best year of my life, and I'm just getting started. And I remember as a child when the old folks used to say, it gets sweeter as the day goes. You know what? I'm like, I didn't understand. I get it. It's sweet. It's a sweet life. Walking with God, walking with Jesus. It gets better. It gets better and better and better and better. But we do have a role to play in it.
Yes, amen, amen. So thank you, Mimi. We so appreciate you and your time.
Yes, thank
and
you.
sharing your story. You're just so inspiring.